Alright, welcome back to Who's Hot and Who's Not. We got a long list of players to go through again today, and there is 3 hours until the deadline. So I'll kick straight into it, and hopefully you can watch this before we hit 10 o'clock or 8 o'clock in Australia. So we'll start with Who's Not. Dean Mariner, so he has been dropped from this Broncos side in place of Katoni Staggs, and it doesn't seem like that's going to be changing anytime soon. So I think unless Shibasaki or Katoni Staggs gets injured, or if they have a couple of bad games in a row, Dean Mariner won't be coming back into that team. And if you're holding him, you're basically waiting for an injury there, and I would not be looking to do that. So I would say Dean Mariner is an easy sell. Alright, moving on. And it is doing this for me. Okay, here we go. AJ Brimson. So people are selling him, and understandably so. He has started the season off not too well with a 32-pointer and then 13 points last week. And the missed tackles is concerning. He's averaging 5.5 per game. But if we look at his 5-8 games historically, let's go over 60 minutes. He only averages just under 3 missed tackles a game, so it could potentially be an outlier. His average is also here 41.8 at 5/8. If we just filter it to 2022, it comes out at 47.2. So kind of doing a little bit of one-eyed data looking here, trying to find a reason to tell you to hold him still. And as we can see, he's currently priced at 33, break even of 50, so even if he came out and scored 47, he would still lose a bit of money. But I think Brimson is one you can sell if you need to make a move to get Payne Haas. But, Roosters, Dolphins, Dragons, Canberra, Cowboys, their games aren't too bad coming up, and all he needs is some decent attacking stats, and he will get you a decent score. So I think he's not a rush to sell, but if you're really wanting to make a move, then I would sell him. But unfortunately I don't own him, so I don't really know how it feels at the moment. But I don't know. I was definitely close to starting the season with him, and I think I'd definitely be looking to give him one more game just to see what he can do. I know it's against the Roosters. It's not the easiest matchup, but the Titans, historically, I think they tend to go pretty well against the Roosters, so could be a decent one there. But yeah. Tom Gilbert. Tough one here. Started the season so well, and he's just sort of petered out a little bit, but his base is as strong as ever. He's not much of a player to get sort of tackle breaks and offloads. He's really a meat and potatoes guy, and now that he's priced at 42 points, I think going forward you can probably expect a 45 to 50 point average from him. So he is absolutely far from being a definite sell. But I think along with Brimson, I would look to hold him if you can, because he's the Dolphins captain. He's going to play a minimum of 50 minutes per week. Like that game in round 2, that was absolute floor of minutes. I can't see him playing any less than that. And he's going to tackle and run his way to, a floor of 40 points a week, in my opinion. So if you have guys like Alex Seyfarth and Nafahu White, I think long term, in the next month, I'd rather be jumping off those two guys than Tom Gilbert, because Nafahu White's been good, but I think his role is going to get smaller now that the other forwards are back. That's Butcher and Collins. And then Seyfarth just feels like he may not be the guy that we think he's going to be, even though he's playing 80 minutes. His PPM's actually not been that great. It's just lucky that he got the try. But I honestly, all three of them are quite close, and I think just go with your gut. Just try it before you make a decision on who you're going to sell. Try and think about their role. Like Tom Gilbert is the captain. He is nailed for minutes. He's probably a good chance of playing Origin, but I don't think we need to worry about that at the moment. He's got the middle edge duel. It's very handy. He is by far an urgent sell, and me personally, I'll be looking to hold him in all possible way that I can. Jack Bird, yeah, I think it's safe to say that he's a sell. Um, Interesting minutes. Even in 52 minutes, he's had 2 goes at it, and he can't get out over 30 points. Not too sure. I really haven't been watching Jack Bird and Tigers games. My eyes have been a lot more set on Terrell May and Alex Seyfarth. So even Stafford Toa, he'd be like the fourth Tigers player in my mind. So yeah, I think Jack Bird is probably a sell here, and Kitione Katoga is a guy. Bird to Katoga, it would be a trade I would heavily recommend doing this week. Luke Metcalf, one guy I'm potentially looking to sell this week, not because I think he is a sell, but I think if I had to sell anyone in my team to get Payne Haas, it's going to be Luke Metcalf. I just think, even though I dive deep into him and I believe that he can average 45 points, we need to see the running meters a lot higher than this, I'd say, or a lot higher than a 54 average. I'd be hoping for at least like 80 or 90. If we look at his games at 5'8", historically, he averages only 79. Has he got any? He's got 1 low minute game in there. Actually, so that's 2. Okay, 88. So around that 90. So we're missing about 4 points average in run meters, I'd say. And just the Warriors have a fairly tough draw coming up, and the bye. It's just a little bit concerning. Like, I can see him doing all right against the Tigers, but then into a bye, into the Storm, and we just always lose to the Storm. So I can't see him doing well there. And then Broncos isn't going to be much easier. So perfectly fine to hold, but for me, I think I need to get Payne Haas in, and he's going to be, along with another gun that I'll be selling. Luke Metcalf is the guy that I'm going to need to use in a double trade to get Payne Haas in, unfortunately. Alright, Iongi. A very frustrating own for probably everyone watching, as his ownership is very high, and he was, in fantasy communities, he was touted as almost a must own, and at the moment he's feeling like a someone that you wouldn't mind selling, and I think at his price he's probably not worth selling. I mean, you could look at him pretty similar to Jack Bird here. They've basically averaged the same amount of points, but I think the difference is Jack Bird has a cap, and he's scoring at about what we expected. But Iongi, we probably were expecting him to score mid-30s, and he is still priced at 25. So I think if you believe that the Eels can improve, then he's a very easy hold, and for me, he's a very easy hold. But I think if there was a player that was available as a cash out that was, in the same position, like wing fullback is just tricky at the moment. It's hard to get your starting 3 wing fullbacks and have a backup as well. So yeah, Iongi, I'd probably put him in the same box as Metcalf. One you can sell if you want to fund another move, but that's the only time I'd sell him. If if you're trading other players, then Iongi's not one to be too worried about at the moment. And I think in terms of starting him, I would definitely look to loop him this week. Eels are playing late, so it would sort of be if you've got like a Jack Cole or a Sandon Smith in these 2 early games, you'd be putting them in your emergency slot 5 or slot 6, depending on how many looping red dots you have. And then I wouldn't be playing Iongi unless your loop slots score maybe 30 points or less. So yeah, that's probably what I'd be doing there. Mitch Barnett, I think it's safe to say he's a sell. Even with Dylan Walker leaving, well, it's tough because it sounds like Jacob Laban's going to join the bench, but Barnett, even playing 60 minutes, we don't really know what kind of scores he's going to throw up, and even playing 60 minutes, I would only see him scoring about 50. So yeah, I think you can probably afford to jump off him. But if you already have Payne Haas, I'd be looking to get on Isaiah Yeo if you can. If you already have both of them, you could potentially hold him and just hold him for one more week and just see how it pans out with the minutes. I could see a path where he ends up getting 60 minutes, but as we saw last round, if we just look here, Jackson Ford picked up some extra minutes, and he's proven that he can do it. So he played 62 minutes. We did have Mitch Barnett move out to the edge for some of the game as well, because I believe, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck got injured, so that pushed Capewell to centre and Barnett went to play on the edge. So yeah, only 49 minutes. Just not someone you really want to have all this money tied up in at the moment. And he's one I'm happy to say would be a sell. Jerome Hughes, he will be out for the next 2 to 3 games, and I don't think he was a buy at the start of the season anyway. He was priced way too expensive, and I think he's an easy sell. Get a gunner that's firing, get Haas, get Yo, get Jaden Campbell, get someone that's playing, because 2 to 3 weeks, you can't really afford to have this guy sitting on your bench scoring you nothing at this point in the season. Nick Meaney, he is out for 1 to 2 months, and he is an easy sell. Kalen Ponga is a very strong hold. Now, I've seen a couple people trading him out, and understandable if you want to get Payne Haas, someone has to go, and Ponga is one of those guys that isn't playing this week, and potentially if you it helps that he scored 29, meaning you kind of feel like it's going to be okay. His break even 65, so potentially may not make much more money right now. So if you were thinking about selling him and buying him back later, but I really think if you are selling him now, then you're probably going to be prepared to go without him for a decent amount of time until he eventually might drop in price to something under 700k. But for me, in a tricky wing fullback position, you've got Campbell and Ponga, the two wing fullback guns that are firing, and then you've got like Trebojevic, who his hammies are just extremely scary, and then Drinkwater and Walsh, they're not exactly firing on all cylinders at the moment. And you've got Tedesco. I suppose if you sold Ponga, and then you could look to bring in Walsh, Drinkwater or Tedesco in a couple of weeks, that could be okay. But look, if Payne Haas, the very important point that you should try and understand here is, if Payne Haas wasn't going berserk and scoring 80 points a week, I don't think anyone would be looking to sell Kalen Ponga. So just think about long term. I think after looking into it a bit further today, if you're playing head to head, you actually miss what your head to head matchups don't actually play rounds 12, 13, 15, 16 and 17 and 18. So you miss 6 matchups there. So you can probably afford to be more aggressive and trade out a gun to get Payne Haas, because you're going to want to win early matchups to ensure that you're going to be in the top 8 of your head-to-head league. But for overall, I think Ponga is a definite hold, especially due to the fact that Walsh is the incumbent fullback for Origin, and there's a good chance Ponga could be somewhere in the side, 18th man, something like that, but there's also a chance he doesn't play Origin, and owning him through that period for overall coaches would be essential with his pretty good buy schedule. Alright, we have Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who's out for up to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury, so he is an easy sell. Thomas Duffy, he's been dropped, and Jake Clifford, who replaced him, had a pretty good game. So I can't see Duffy coming back anytime soon. He is a sell, and I would be looking to get either Kirioni Katoga or Thomas Jenkins. Connor Watson, so he is probably the guy that I am selling this week to get Payne Haas, and that comes with the repercussions of Peter Mamouzelos being my only hooker for now. But I have my eye on Harry Grant, I have my eye on Reed Mahoney, and I also have my eye on Reece Robson. All three of these guys are dropping in cash, and they're going to be pretty cheap in the next couple of weeks. So as long as Mamouzelos can just get me through the next couple of weeks, I'll probably be looking to buy a new hooker or get some hooker cover as soon as it becomes appealing. But yeah, Connor Watson, so basically I've had a look, and he misses the most games. If we look from here till round 20, he misses, if Watson, I did it between Watson, Cleary and Ponga. I think Ponga misses the least amount of games, followed by Cleary, who misses one extra game, and then Watson will be missing 2 extra games. I think that 2 extra games than Cleary, so that's 3 extra games than Ponga that he misses, just due to the bye schedule. So to be clear, that is if they do play Origin. If they don't play Origin, it's a slightly different story. But Watson's in pretty good form. I can definitely see him being the utility for the Blues, but it's way too early to be predicting that. But you have to make some kind of prediction if you need to make a decision here tonight, which is what I have to do. So Watson is the guy, and my other reasoning is that now he's priced at 55. We've seen him play 80 minutes for the first 2 weeks, and he was most likely going to play 80 minutes again. But now that Butcher and Collins are back, you've got a stacked pack now where Suya Wong may be demanding high minutes as well. You've got Radley there, Crichton always plays 80, Lenu, Nafahu White, and then so you have Watson there. And I believe that he may only play 70 minutes from here on out. He might either come off at the 60-minute mark for a little spell and come back on with 10 minutes to go and play some lock or whatever, however it's going to go. But just looking at how Trent Robertson used him last year when he was starting at lock, I think he started at hooker a little bit. Let's actually just have a look. So yeah, he had a few lock starts and a few hooker starts. So we'll just go minutes over 50 here. So yeah, he did play 80 quite a few times, but then we've got like a 70-minute game, 55, 73, and 70. And there's also times here where he'll come off, or he would be coming off, but then one of their players gets injured and he moves out to centre, or he 5'8", or he can just play anywhere in the field. So I feel like what I'm trying to say here is I feel like he's priced at about what he's going to average, about that 55-point mark. Whereas with Ponga, I think he was priced at 57, and I think he can average above 60. So, and then obviously Cleary, I think he's well underpriced now. So, yeah, I'm definitely not looking to sell him. But yeah, basically with Watson, I think he's earned his money. We've made some cash from him, maybe like 50k, and yeah, I think out of the three, he is the one that I've chosen to sell due to those sort of factors there. So that is what it is. You may have different thoughts to that, but that is how I feel. Dylan Lucas, he is out for another 5 to 6 weeks, and he is an absolute sell. Nathan Cleary, so he's priced at 58 with 101 break even. We've seen, if we just look at his numbers from the recent years, last year averaged 69.8. We've got 75.9, 67.5, 91, and even in 2020 we'll go as far back 73.3, and that's including some Origin and Finals games. So if you notice there is nothing even close to 58. It all blows it out of the water. And you might argue, oh, the Panthers are worse now. Jerome Luai's gone. Fish Harris is gone. But I think no Luai actually, in the long run, could be even better for him here, where he's probably just going to do absolutely all the kicking. There's going to be more responsibility on him. And the first 2 weeks were just sort of, he's just warming into the season. It seems like he usually does something like this, and the big scores could be right around the corner. Last year it didn't really pan out that way, but then we've seen, he scored 112 with a hat-trick against the Dragons, so, he's going to come back and face the Cowboys, who just let Payne Haas run straight through their defence and score a try, so I am firmly now in the camp of hold Nathan, because we don't know what he's going to score here. If you're selling him hoping he's going to drop more money, of course he could do that, but it's definitely not for certain. And I think if I were comparing it to the three guys again, Cleary is someone that I just want in my team for the whole season. Same as Ponga. Ponga is that influential player in that side. He's doing lots of kicking, goal kicking, heaps of playmaking. His hands are on the ball the whole time. And then with Watson, he's a pretty important player in that Roosters team, but just looking at how Trent Robinson sort of rotates his forwards, he is the one that his role is the hardest to trust in terms of being a consistent gun scorer. So I hope that makes some sense. And yeah, by all means possible, I would hold Nathan Cleary. And yeah, I mean, if you are selling him, I hope you've got a pretty good reason. And I mean, Haas is a pretty good reason, but if you can find any other way to do it, I probably would, because next week you're going to be sitting without Cleary in your team, and you're going to be thinking, oh boy, I don't know how much he's going to score, but people probably won't captain him because they'll probably be captaining Haas, but it's just a scary thought not owning Cleary, because, yeah, I've been in that boat before, and I just want to hide behind the couch. For the whole game, Nico Hines, 791k, so he's more expensive than Cleary now. He's priced at 59, and I would say that's actually interesting. Oh, maybe we're on to the Who's Hot. Yeah, so we're on the Who's Hot now. Nathan Cleary is the biggest seller. 15% of teams. Wow. That is mind-blowing. Let's see his ownership now. Oh, 67. So that must have gone down to 52. So yeah, decent chunk of Cleary owners have sold him. Anyway, Nico Hines, so a nice score last week, but that did include a try, and his kick meters are just not looking too flash here. He's probably coming off, if we look at 2023 when he was playing with Moylan, he got, let's see, 396, so let's call that 390, and now 223, so that's about 6 points in just kick meters alone, and then there's concerns about goal kicking, but I think he's going to retain that. But let's just say he's already losing 6 points in kick meters at a minimum from Trindle, and priced at 59, I just don't think I can recommend him as a buy right now. People buying him are probably doing Cleary to Hines, but long term you're just going to want Cleary in. And yeah, the Sharks have 3 pretty tough teams coming up as well, so don't think you can rely on him getting tries and try assists every week. But he does look in form. He's looking all right, but it just takes me back to the end of last season, where he's gone 57, 54, 52, 33, 41, and we could have some games like this coming for him in the not very distant future. So yeah, I wouldn't be recommending Hines. I'd rather go into Jaden Campbell or Payne Haas. Sound like a broken record. Jalen de Groot, I gave my thoughts on him in yesterday's video, so if you haven't seen that, just go and check that out. I'll just give you a brief rundown now. So his break even's 23. In reserve grade, he averages 27. That's only from a handful of 12 games, so potentially, if you look at it in a way where you're buying, you could say, oh, maybe he'll average 30 points. Even so, he's one that I would definitely want to just watch him for a week. If he looks really good, then he'll be a decent buy, but he could also be like Iongi, where he just in a team that's not too flash. All the attacks running through Campbell and Brimson, and he's sort of just like the guy at the back. We don't really know what his role is going to be in attack, if he's going to get some decent ball out the back. So yeah, I think there's better options available in Jenkins and Katoga, in my opinion. Beau Fermor, he's getting pretty damn expensive, priced at 53 now, and historically we've only ever seen him average 50. If we do second row starts over 70 minutes, he comes out at 49.9. So I know it would be very nice to have him in your centre spot, because he's basically a walk-up 50, this guy. But I think at best he's probably priced at what you're going to get. So I think ideally you'd want to wait for him to maybe drop 50k if he just has like an HIA or something. Then I'd look to probably jump on, but you could definitely do a lot worse than jumping on him, but it just doesn't feel like there's any value here. So I probably wouldn't be looking to buy him at this point. I should also mention he scored a try last week, so it makes his score look a bit better as well. Like, he was probably on for a high 40 score without that try, but that's still pretty decent. Stafford Toa was definitely a buy last week. This week, I mean, he's priced at 25. We've seen him average 37 in 2023, I think. 38 even. So if you think he can return to this kind of form, then yes, he's probably still a buy, but it's getting a little bit marginal. And I think if you're deciding between him and Katoga, I kind of prefer Katoga here. If you really should have got on last week, and now there's another player that's emerged that's 50k cheaper and is playing big minutes on an edge rather than at centre, and if you can start him at centre, it's pretty favourable to take the guy playing on the edge, so that's probably what I'd recommend there. Paul Adamotti, this feels like a bit of point chasing going on here. 4 tries in his first 3 games. I think he played on the wing last week. Actually, I think he's still playing on the wing. It'll be Toto. Yeah, Jenkins and Tago at centre. So Alamotti's playing on the wing now. Do we actually have any games from him at the wing? Yeah. So he's got 3 games on the wing. One was low minutes, but look, he's priced at 42 now. He's someone where if you're buying him, you'd almost want him to be near a keeper. So you'd want him to be averaging at least 50, and he is at the moment, but that's with tries, and unless players don't score at a 1.3 tries per game rate, it's gonna fall off eventually. Maybe not for the next 4 games. He could still keep going, but he's just one I wouldn't recommend. It's a mid-range guy that's in some form, but he's not a proven gun. And at this point in the season, I'd be looking to either buy cash cows that look like they're going to make 100 to 150k, or proven guns that you are not going to want to sell for the rest of the season. And Alamotti is definitely someone that you are not going to, you're going to want to sell at some point in the season. I'm pretty sure he's not going to turn into Brian Toto, I don't think. Toby Couchman, a popular one this week, and rightfully so. He's had 2 not very nice games where he's averaging 0.89 ppm, but that's in 66 minutes, so Yeah, historically, I think his PPM is a little bit better than that, and playing in, I think in reserve grade it was about 52 and 55, 52 points in 55 minutes. So going forward, I've had to think about, his minutes projection this week, and I see it being between 50 to 55 minutes. So if you think that he can get closer to that 55-minute mark, score you around 50 points a week, then price at 43, he's definitely got a decent amount of value there. You can definitely jump on him, but I would say he's definitely not essential. He's not a screaming buy. Um, I wouldn't mind, even though his break even is 26, he's probably going to raise another 30k this week, or 20 to 30k. Just seeing the rotation now that David Clemmer's in the team, Dylan Egan's there. Leilua played 80 minutes in their last game, so I'm just trying to work out if Egan and Leilua are going to split 80 minutes together, if Cook and Little are going to split 80 minutes, or if Little's going to play a bit extra, if Egan's going to play predominantly on the edge, how many minutes Hamish Stewart's going to get. DeBellin always commands minutes, and then you've also got Emre Gula there too, but I think Couchman is their young up-and-coming guy, and I think his floor will be 50 minutes, and then depending on how the game goes, he could go up to 60. I think 62 is a bit too much. I think at 70 they had some injuries in that first game, but yeah, Couchman is a pretty decent buy this week, but honestly, there's not too many guys I'd want to sell. I guess if you had like a Dylan Lucas or a Zach Hosking, or even a Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and you already own Payne Haas, then I think Couchman is an easy pivot. So in that case, yes, I think he's one of the top candidates to be bought in this week. Nafahu White. So this one is one I'm going to say avoid. Now, his break-even's nice and appealing, only 8, and he's only priced at 38, where he's currently averaging 54.3, and do note that includes a try from last week. So if he didn't score that, which, props don't score that many tries, his average would be maybe around that 50 mark. So by all means, it looks like, if this guy's going to average 50, he's a screaming buy. But the cavalry is back for the Roosters. Third time I've said it in this video, so you're probably sick of hearing it now, but it does mean something. Nat Butcher will play bigger minutes than guys like Fiketti, Blake Steep, and Lasalu and Makatoa. All those guys have been only playing smaller minutes. Nat Butcher and Lindsay Collins command, at minimum 40 minutes each. And then you've also got Lenu, who's going to be commanding minutes, and I see White from this week onwards being a 40 to 45 minute player. And, we saw a kind of what we're going to get from him, 43 and 48 minutes. So from here on out, I think White will be a 40 to 45 point average player. And if you bring him in, like if you compare him to Couchman has the potential to be a 50 average or 50 plus average player, but for White, going from here on out, you can't buy the points from like the last 3 games. I definitely cannot see him averaging near 50 now, unless there's more injuries. Then owners just get very lucky. But no, I would not be jumping on him. His price is pretty close to Couchman. I'd definitely be going Couchman if you're looking for a mid or an edge. Couchman is the answer. Nafahu White is not the answer. Ryan Papenhausen, 578k, break even at 37, and he's priced at 43. Now, he kicked goals last week, but it has been confirmed that he's got a bit of an injury. I can't remember what it was, but he said to the media that Tyron Wishart is going to be goal kicking this week. So I would say Papenhausen is a strong avoid. Even with the goal kicking, I still wasn't sold on him, but he's just proven over the past, especially last year, his scoring is very inconsistent. Like, you've got a 7 and 80 minutes against the Dragons. The Dragons did play really well that game, but there's just not enough good scores in here. Like, you've got a one against the Warriors, but the Storm always do well against the Warriors, but there's a lot of undesirable scores in here that are potentially going to pop up. He only averaged 42 last year, priced at 43. If you're paying 578 for a player, you're expecting at least some consistency, and Couchman's the same price. I'd absolutely prefer Couchman here. It doesn't feel like a good buy here, and with Drinkwater, Walsh, and Tedesco around, I think I'd prefer to be either waiting for Drinkwater or Walsh to fall in price, or jump on James Tedesco, because that's all I'll say on it. I just don't think he's a buy. Hamish Stewart, so he is maintained his bench spot for the Dragons, and I see him getting about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes a game. But looking at his reserve grade stats, he sort of, he averages a bit under a point a minute, and he's probably going to be scoring 25 to 35 points a game. Depending on minutes, it'll be like, it'll take this week to get a better idea now that the Dragons pack is looking a bit more settled at how they're going to want to line up for the rest of the season. But he's one I probably can't recommend going into now. He's priced at 23. You'd want him, if you're buying now, you'd want him to be averaging 33. And yes, he had two good scores here, but one included a try assist, which is rare for a young rookie prop, and then he played 43 minutes in the first game. So I would probably be expecting something like 28 points in 30 something minutes going forward, and I just don't think that's enough to be buying, so I would avoid him. Ruben Garrick, very popular after his fantastic performance. I'm a Garrick owner, so I was loving every minute of that. 4 tries, 6 goals, 3 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks. It was beautiful. But now he is priced at 48, and if we look at his historic centre games, I think it'll come out to around maybe 49 or 50. Let's go here. 50.4. So I wouldn't say he's a buy. I think it just feels like people are points chasing here, which is, I understand points chasing, but if you're looking to play fantasy with a competitive edge, then you just need to completely forget about what happened last week and put all your focus into what you think will happen next week. And yes, they're playing Parramatta Eels at home, who suck at the moment, so I couldn't even blame you for jumping on him thinking he's going to score another 4 tries, but the reality is it's probably not going to happen, and he's probably going to, if you jump on now, you are expecting that average of about 50 points. And I can't recommend him as a buy right now. His price is going to fluctuate during the season, and I think, it's definitely not going to come down for a few weeks now, but he may be someone you may want to target after their buy. His price may have dropped a bit, and he'll be decent to have a dual cover over Origin time. But yeah, right now I probably wouldn't be looking at buying him, and I'd be once again waiting for Drinkwater, Walsh, or Tedesco to drop in prices. Yeah, Garrick doesn't feel like someone to be buying this week. Adam Reynolds, I think I'd probably say he's an avoid. It's just the injuries that really put me off here. Only played, half the games last season, and some of these games he went off around half time, and he's another year older. What's to say this doesn't happen again? You've already missed 3 good scores, and he's risen almost 100k in price. So he was a buy then, but now priced at 53. He's never really been a guy that averages more than like 56. If we look at this, 53 average last year in 80-minute games. We got 54, so yeah, it's kind of looking like this is about what he's going to average for you going forward, even in a hot Broncos team when they're basically unstoppable, except by the Panthers in 2023. He only averaged 54, and that was with all the goal kicking, and yeah, priced at 53, I'd be looking elsewhere. Katoga, one that I really like this week, break even of 8, priced at 21. I can easily see him averaging 31 or more. I think I have him potentially between like 33 and 39, and that is, almost it would almost be a slam dunk if maybe his job security was a bit better. But I did hear during the week someone was talking about the fact that Jason Ryles handpicked him as a signing, and the plan was for him to start in round 1, but he had a niggling injury, and sounds like he's just talked him up in the preseason and stuff. So that could be complete rubbish, but I don't think people would really lie about that. So I think Katoga, he's been given his chance here, and if he just grabs it, plays solidly for the Eels, I think he'll maintain his spot. Big minutes on the edge. So yeah, I think he's someone that you can definitely buy this week if you've got someone that's not playing and you want to trade him out. If you've got an injured player, Katoga would be probably my number one option to jump on. Jamie Humphries, if you don't own him yet, just buy him. Honestly, it's interesting because I'm not really sure if he's going to keep playing in this role where at halftime he moves to lock and plays out the game at lock, because if he was doing that, if we knew that was going to happen, then he would be a screaming buy. But if he's just playing halfback, if he goes back to just playing halfback, then I'm not sure if same price as Toby Couchman, priced at 44 here. If he's just playing halfback, I feel like he may only average in those high 40s. So yeah, it's tough. I think it depends what kind of position you need, because if it was me, if I didn't own Humphries, I would probably jump on Toby Couchman in this spot, and that's counting that you own Payne Haas as well. But yeah, I think that's what I would be doing, just for the fact that I think, he has exploded for the first 3 games, but he was looking like in the first half, I think he was only on 19 at half time. It was looking like he was on for a mid-40s score there, so you may have missed the boat here. And even the low break even doesn't really matter if you're jumping on now. You're going to be wanting to own him for a while, and if his price is going to plateau, you're not going to make that 150k. So yeah, I'd probably sway to avoid Humphries now, which is probably pretty controversial, but that's what I reckon. Jaden Campbell, so I was pretty high on him to start the week, and then we had the Keeney news where I've sort of cooled my jets a little bit, but still pretty high on him, just for the fact that Keeney is a very decent player, and we don't really know how De Groot's going to be, and if he's going to sort of clutter their attack or not, or if he's just going to not get involved at all. But I think with Campbell, he gets his points just through his base anyway. Well, that's what we're looking for. Price of 54. If you're buying now, you're looking for him to average about high 50s, even 60 points, and I still think it's possible for him to get these points. It's just slight concern of how De Groot's going to fit into the team and how all the other spine are going to adapt. But I think he's a decent buy this week, and just the fact as well that he's available at wing fullback, in the tough position, you can just chuck him in there and just forget about him. He's going to be, a strong player in your side, a strong gun. And it's weird that he scored 46 in week 1, but he's still got him here as 42. Payne Haas, yep. So I was looking at him again today, and I was just sort of thinking, how is this possible? Like, is an average of 90, he probably won't score another try for a while. Can he average? I was thinking, can he average 75? Like, if I'm buying now, I'd probably want him to average a little bit more than 71, because, if you Cleary can probably average about, well, I project him at 68. So the thing about Payne Haas is, if he can average 70 or above, then he's going to be your captain every week. And it kind of feels justified that you want to buy a player, that you want to buy the best player to captain every week. And if it's going to cost you extra money, it's sort of justified, because you're captaining the best player every week. And in fantasy, it's not all about value, it's also about scoring points. So I've kind of convinced myself that I will need to buy him. And I was looking here at, if we go into games in his career where he's played over 70 minutes, he averages 75.8. Now, that's not, his minutes are going to be between 50 and 75 a week, but probably going to average out around 60 minutes a game. But I'm just looking at this to see, okay, has he shown the potential that over time he can, average in the 70s? And he can, whether it be through his offloads, which he's doing now, but as you can see here, in this sample size, he only averages 1.6 offloads a game. So to think, if he plays like this and adds on, 3 or 4 offloads, that could be somewhere in the 80s. But obviously these are 70 minutes or more, so you're going to want to take away probably 5 to 10 tackles, and maybe a bit of the run meters, but probably actually 180 run meters, that's probably what he's going to do. And tackles, I'd probably, let's see what he's been doing now. 31 tackles, so probably about 10 tackles off it. So if you took 10 tackles away, that'll be about a 65 average. And then if you add on 3 offloads, that takes him up to, 77, which is just crazy to think. And I think it's just for the factor of enjoying fantasy. Like, I just don't think I can enjoy my week without having Haas in my team. Like, I'll be watching all the games thinking, oh, well, this is great, but I don't have Haas, and he's going to get 100 points, and all my players do is going to mean nothing to me, because Payne Haas is just destroying my rank and stuff. So it's an interesting way of thinking. But if we even chuck this to all his games played in his career over 60 minutes, he averages 68.9. So let's say 69. So even, if worst case from here, you buy him at 71 points and he averages high 60s, it's still not the worst. Like, you're still paying up for a guy that you can safely captain every week. At the moment, he does feel safer than captaining Cleary, but I'm sure that is going to change. Like, any day now, Haas will have a game where he only scores like 50 or 60 points, and everyone's going to say, oh, he's back to normal. But until that happens, I think we just have to jump on the ride, because even if it happens, everyone's probably going to be in the same boat. So it just feels like one where we're going to have to go with the pack here. And there we go. Feels like I've been recording for a long time, but hopefully you're set on your trades now. I think I'm almost set on mine. So can't wait for Thursday night footy. Get Jack Cole in your loop slot. And yeah, enjoy it. Catches.